Let's have a look at the topic we've got tonight: Port Arthur, deceit and terrorism. Do you know, for thousands of years, many of those in power, whether it be church, trade, media or politicians, government, have tried to silence dissent. Indeed, if they couldn't silence the dissenters, they often killed them, or they certainly disparaged their name.
I would like to thank the people of Inverell and the Forum Committee for inviting me here tonight to speak. If it hadn't have been for these people, I guess my story would never have been told. It certainly was never going to happen in Tasmania. So thank you. On behalf of my husband Graham and Andrew, I would like to thank Robert and his committee for inviting us to speak tonight. Also to Mr and Mrs Rumming for collecting us from the airport and accommodating us. And it's very good, I might tell you. There is one other person here tonight that Graham and I met on the phone about 4 years ago, Mr David Barton. Thank you, David, for your support. It has been a pleasure to meet you in person. Thank you also to Andrew McGregor for the work that he's put in. I'd read a lot of the documents on many occasions and I just read over everything. But Andrew, being an ex-policeman, he had a more investigative mind than what I had. Port Arthur is a story of social engineering at its worst. This is the first time I have spoken in detail publicly of my experience at Port Arthur. Out of respect for those killed and their families, I decided my complete experiences should not be told. I am now convinced that our politicians, elected public servants and their offsiders in the bureaucracy have used this against me in their efforts to make sure that due legal process in relation to the Port Arthur massacre never happens.
So Ari, you worked military intelligence in Israel in the 1980s. Correct. You have a tremendous understanding of war in the Middle East, in this region. What is your take on Russia's approach to ISIS? Is Russia going to be successful in its military attacks on ISIS now?
I hope Russia will be successful in bringing peace to Syria. They're not only attacking ISIS, they're attacking other terrorist groups there. And they're the only hope for the Middle East right now, and together with the Iranians.
That's interesting analysis, because from the American perspective, of course, the threats to the Middle East have included Saddam Hussein, and now it's Assad in Syria, and so we've been actively trying to overthrow these people. And you're saying that actually that's only going to make it worse, right?
That's making it worse. And I don't think it is the American perspective. It's more, quote unquote, the Friends of America's perspective. It's the Israeli and Saudi perspective, trying to impose it on America. And sorry to say, they have different interests than the U.S. does. In this case, America's friends are
My wife Elizabeth and I were both employees at Port Arthur Historic Site Management Authority and were both working there the day of the massacre. My wife Elizabeth was murdered inside the gift shop section of the Broad Arrow Cafe, one of 20 victims murdered thereabouts. I know that Martin Bryant was not the gunman at the massacre at Port Arthur. How do I know? The coroner, Mr Ian Matheson, wrote a letter to a number of survivors of the massacre informing us that Martin Bryant was not the gunman at Port Arthur. In the letter dated the 31st of January 1997, the coroner, Mr Matheson, wrote, As a result of the outcome of the charges against Martin Bryant in the Supreme Court of Tasmania, I write to advise I do not intend to resume the inquest that I opened on the 29th of April 1996. I believe it is not in the interests of the family, friends or witnesses to again traverse the factual situation in a public hearing, particularly when any finding I make must not be inconsistent with the decision of the Supreme Court. Well, I thought long and hard about this statement and discussed the point with friends. You must understand that there were many other facts of the shootings inside the Broad Arrow Cafe that begged a proper, open investigation, including workplace safety issues and especially the issue of the emergency exit that were totally outside the issues of the gunman. It was the simple
bit more about this.
I was a member of the Victoria Police Force from 68 till 85. I retired in health in 1985 after running into some problems with a thing called corruption.
That'll do it.
Every time. When the Port Arthur massacre finally came round, and I can remember listening to the radio on the car when it was first announced, about a gunman going mad, and I turned the radio off in disgust because I knew it was going to be psyched up. Later on, I came around to study it. I got a copy of the court transcript where Martin Bryant was sentenced. Martin Bryant was never put on trial, and he should have been. The solicitor John Avery took over. Now, John Avery also represented Carleen Bryant, Martin Bryant's mother, and the gun dealer Terry Hill. Now, it's extremely interesting with the gun dealer because shortly before Avery took over for Bryant, Avery had written to Terry Hill asking him to give evidence that he had sold the murder weapons to Martin Bryant, which was a lie. And Terry Hill declined to tell this particular lie, and so the police ended up raiding his shop and closed his business down, collected all his books. You start reading the sentencing document, and you're absolutely amazed. You then start reading the witness statements, and they are absolutely astounding. The first thing you find out is that when, according to the police documents, when David and Sally Martin were killed at between 10:30 and 12 o'clock, that Martin Bryant was 58 kilometres away drinking coffee, as per the witness statement. You've got witnesses stating that Martin Bryant arrived at the Seascape cottage
So you're left-handed?
I have this hand.
Oh, that's right, sorry. Yeah.
No, but this is more.
So if you held a gun, you would pull the trigger with your finger on your left hand?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. And did you ever practice shooting from the hip?
No. What's that that I suppose everyone's talking about?
What's it?
You have given very graphic description of you being responsible for killing those people.
Horrendous. Anyone to go down there and do a thing like that.